Hello, the channel. Welcome back, everyone. Wee bit of a sore win for Celtic yesterday, but I've still sucked up the courage to get the Celtic shirt on. So my Celtic dominant midweek, hopefully. So there we go. Hope you're all having a good weekend. Thanks again if you're watching again. Pretty quiet midweek upcoming, but pretty specific chance to win things, etc. as well. So what we're going to do today is have a look through the stats and have a look through the Playsharper predictions as well. So I know it's not all about Celtic, or not everyone has Celtic cards, etc. So let's have a look at what else is on midweek, and then we can go from there. So if anyone's picking this up for the first time, hopefully you've watched a few times. The first time you've watched the channel, this is spreadsheet from Sorare Probabilities, S_probabilities on Twitter, and you'll give you a free trial if you want to have a go at looking at the stats or doing some work on your teams or your players. So midweek wise, the first thing to point out is not really a lot of fixtures on. So SPFL, Vancouver are playing against Tigres in the CONCACAF, I think that's called. We have some other games on as well, like Union Berlin against Mainz. And I think also there is a game in AFCON. Pretty sure Ivory Coast are playing as well. So that's it. But the full league that's out is the SPFL, and as you can see, the top chances in terms of fixtures are basically Celtic and Rangers. Now, Rangers are not actually a licensed team. It's a funny one as well. Aberdeen usually do pretty well against Rangers. I actually won at Ibrox the last time, although Aberdeen are struggling a lot more now. But Rangers do have cards like Todd Cantwell, Sima, who's injured just now, Danilo, I think, is also injured, Fabio Silva, Cifuentes. So, not the full team minted, but people will still probably want to have a look at this. They'll probably not be watching my channel because I just talk about Celtic all the time, but never know, might be somebody that's not a Rangers fan just holds those cards. But anyway, back to the main event. Celtic against Hibernian, the High Bees, the Hibs. 75% win percentage. Clean sheet percentage of 47 or 40, nearly 48. Expected team goals 2.38. So I think one thing to point out here is that Celtic obviously are a popular challenger stack on Sorare, so a lot of people will have the cards. Hibs also, although this is away from home for Celtic, Hibs lost 3-0 against St Mirren at home. So not really in very good form, although Aberdeen weren't in great form either. That said, I mean, Celtic could have been 3 or 4-0 up at half times. Aberdeen hadn't touched the ball in Celtic's box, but it's the way it goes. They had a specific game plan, and rather than coming out and being open at home, they sat in. So teams seem to have success when they do that against Celtic. Whether Hibs will do that, I don't know. I don't think they did the last time we played there, but it was a different manager. So it could be a game week where if you've got Celtic, you could go for a differential, and you could maybe bank on Hibs getting a goal and, go with an alternative goalkeeper, defender type combo, that type of thing. Club America against Real Esteli FC. So that seems a pretty good game for them. Club America are actually pretty good. So that's quite interesting because I'm going to come back to having a look at the actual makeup of the game weeks and things. So come back to that after we look at the Celtic lineup. But remember that as well. You'll be careful with what division to go into. Guadalajara, I don't think have really got many licensed cards. Monterrey do have a good few licensed cards, so Canales, etc. there, so pretty good option for either America or for the American region, or maybe for All Star if you're playing that, if you're avoiding Challenger. Kilmarnock against Livingston's pretty low down. I don't know how the clean sheet percentage is only 48. I mean, Kilmarnock are pretty strong at home. Livingston were awful last season. They don't score a lot of goals, so I think that's actually a better fixture than it looks on paper. Although I guess 48% is marginally higher than Celtic's clean sheet expected percentage, but I think fixture wise that's a real good one for Kilmarnock. Will Dennis is back. He played at the weekend again, so there's a couple of under 23 goalkeepers. I think Zach Hemming, Will Dennis, Fafana in terms of the Ivory Coast one, and I think there may be somebody floating about in one of the other games as well. Other games in Scotland here too, but I think out with the Celtic game, Hearts and Kilmarnock do have pretty good fixtures too. So Hearts are in pretty good form. St Johnstone are quite low down, although they've been better organised under Craig Levein. There's no doubt about that. Motherwell against Ross County. Motherwell really hit and miss, but Ross County have been poor too. So that could be an interesting one. St Mirren at home as well. Still only 36% clean sheet percentage. I mean, Dundee have been pretty good this season. Or better than expected anyway, I would have said, after coming up. Owen Beck back again, so he's going to be a good sort of shout for under 23s, I think, this midweek. We'll come back to that as well. Mainz against Union Berlin. So, again, pretty interesting one. Union Berlin, I think, are actually at home, but it looks like Mainz, so clean sheet percentage slightly higher, which is interesting. But Union were really pretty rotten all season, but like Rono, etc., like he's been doing really well recently. Does make a lot of saves, so that's part of the why he's got high scores. So not the tightest of teams. Vancouver, interesting now. Pretty tough game for Vancouver. I think they're actually at home as well, but Tigres are a pretty good team. But if you do have guys like maybe Ryan Gold or whatever, then it's good midweek to be using in All Star if you don't have your full sort of regalia in terms of an American stack, etc. And those are pretty much all the matters to discuss. There's a lot of other teams on here. Obviously, these are the reverses of the fixtures. There's no data in yet for Ivory Coast and South Africa. That's still to come through because we're doing this quite early. So bear that in mind. If you do have like a Yahya Fofana, etc., then clearly he's going to be a good option for the under 23s as well. This is a Playsharper prediction. Firstly, there was no Hibs prediction up. So, they've a bit of turmoil and everything, and with transfer windows just shut. So I'm sure that'll be up soon after, the last sort of game. But as I said, I'll be quite heavy in terms of Celtic stacks as per usual. So I explain the selections. So Joe Hart, 95%, undisputed number one. Could probably put him at 100% these days, but I don't like giving anybody 100%. There's always some sort of risk that, something's happened, somebody's been injured or somebody gets ill or whatever. So nobody's ever really 100%. Bernabei and Ralston. So Bernabei played at Aberdeen and he came off after like 60 minutes. The problem with Bernabei is that he's he can look good sometimes going forward, but he's just not as good defensively as Greg Taylor. So it's going to be interesting. I'll come to Johnson now as well, because the reason I've downgraded him a little bit is that's pending injury news. So he did have an injury at the end of the game. He looked in pain. He came back on and he's seen out the game. But the other problem was that Bernabei had already come off for Ralston, so there was no real options on the bench. So had Ralston been in the bench, I think Johnson would have come off and Ralston would have been on. So has he really kind of aggravated that, etc.? Is he going to be fit for midweek? So we'll need to look out for him using the press conferences. But in all honesty, I think if you can, probably be avoiding the fullback positions at Celtic. I also think overall defensive wise, not the best game for a clean sheet either. Personally, I won't have any other options in terms of playing in our goalkeeper just with the limited games, so I'll still be going for a stack, but it might not be the optimal stack midweek. So rare-wise, Liam Scales 95%, probably not his best game. I don't know how he got given a big chance missed for that header. That's just ridiculous. I mean, he's past the near post, the ball comes over, he headers it, it goes past. It's never a big chance missed for me, but there we go, that's Opta for you. Mike Novrocky, I have got him in at 85% here. Kind of interesting one. Firstly, I think getting the early-ish yellow card curtailed his game. I never thought that was a yellow card. Interestingly, the one in the second half where he brought the guy down was probably a yellow card, so he's kind of lucky not to get sent off. But overall, that hampered him. He's quite a positive guy on the ball, so he is a guy who can put up pretty good AA scores, etc. And he's under 23s as well. Vickers is injured, so Vickers won't be playing. So it's really a case of Scales and Novrocky or Scales and Welsh. Rodgers doesn't seem to want to rotate that position. He did say that's position you want stability, so I think at this stage he'll stick with Novrocky. He did take him off nearer at the end, but I think that was just clever management. He's seen he was one foul away from being sent off, so it's not necessarily a downvote from the manager, as you would say. McGregor, well, he plays every game, so not much to say there. We'll look at the expected scores as well. Matt O'Reilly, a couple of quieter games. Just doesn't seem to be happening for him just now. He is getting into the box, etc. I mean, he hit the post yesterday as well, so no doubt with the links of Atletico Madrid and everything, everybody will all be chucking him away on Sorare and all that sort of stuff. But he's still one of the leading under 23 midfielders this season. Under 23s next season. Celtic could get a huge bid for him. Might be hard to keep him, but I do honestly think he's good enough to go and play in Spain. If you look at Girona, they've got lots of guys there who score pretty well. Atletico Madrid are a top team, so if he did go somewhere like that and nailed a midfield spot, he'd still be a pretty good player, but obviously he wouldn't be taking any set pieces, etc. So you'd expect his average to drop a little. But he does have quite a good all-round game, and you could see him chipping in with decisives, certainly in a team like that. Paulo Bernardo, again, interesting one. I mean, he's been favoured with Tati out. Tati's out for another 4 or 5 weeks by the looks of it, so he's probably not going to be back until probably after the international break in March. So I think there's a couple of Euros qualifiers and stuff on March, and around about that time is probably when he's due back. So I don't think he'll be back until about the end of March, personally. We'll see. Celtic won't want to rush him back, but it seems to be a real problem he's had with his calf, so they need to get to the bottom of that. Up front, I'm going Furuhashi 70%. That's the lowest I've given him in a while. People been quite critical of Furuhashi, but I think the way Celtic are playing and the way teams are playing is actually nullifying him. So, if Hibs come and they think, oh yeah, Celtic one each, and they come and have a go, then Furuhashi could easily destroy them. But the problem we've got just now is that teams are mindful of how Celtic play, and a lot of the teams who sit in seem to have better success against Celtic in terms of nullifying it. Even Aberdeen, they had to get out of their own half yesterday in the first half, which is, you could say it's embarrassing, but they got their one each draw, and the first chance they got, they scored it. Again, Majovski's against Nawrocki. I'm not defending him at all. It's not good defending or anything, but he doesn't want to jump in, because if he jumps in, then he's off. He's been sent off, so he was hesitant. So that just didn't work. But again, came down that sort of left-hand side where, we've had some issues with it, with being kind. So anyway, I've also got Adam Ida in here at 30%. I think he did look like a bit of a presence. I think with Furuhashi's form, this could be a game where perhaps Ida starts, Furuhashi comes from the bench, or maybe Ida's not up to speed yet and we do the same thing and we start and see how the game pans out. But certainly with teams sitting in against Celtic, you could see a scenario where Ida maybe gets more starts against teams where maybe you need the bigger guy, the link-up play, that type of stuff. Or you might even get games where you say Ida and Furuhashi playing together. I wouldn't rule that out at all, to be honest. A bit of change to the system, but Celtic might need to do that. Nicholas Kuhn, Abada's been rotten, to be honest. I mean, he was out for a while. He just doesn't really hit any sort of rhythm. Did get assist in the cup, but in the league games looked pretty poor. And Kuhn came on and played pretty well. So personally, I'm expecting him to start this game, but I can't be any more confident than 70%, given that he hasn't actually started yet. But I think he'll start. And Luis Palma again, 85%. Kuhn can play on the left-hand side, and what I've not got coverage for in here is Maeda is now out of the Asian Cup. The interesting part from that point of view is he'll be travelling back to Celtic. Will we throw him back in? I mean, he played the game for Japan. He started the last game where they get put out at the weekend. He's got a bit of travel. Personally, I think he'll be back on the bench if we, the bench was pretty weak. So I do think that, Maeda will be back on the bench. I think that would make the most sense. So, as I said, for the weekend, let's have a look in terms of fixtures, etc. Just to be absolutely clear, we're not missing anything in terms of the spreadsheet. But, so SPFL, Motherwell, Rangers, the Rangers, as I call them. Unbroken history and all that. Kilmarnock, good fixture against Livingston. St Mirren, probably a sneaky good fixture. I know Dundee are good as well, but St Mirren are at home, and winning 3-0 against Hibs away is pretty interesting. Kwon played pretty well on loan from Celtic, so I think that's helped him in midfield as well. St Johnstone against Hearts, so again Hearts are away, but St Johnstone not been that good this season. Celtic we've talked about. We've got a couple of games in Argentina, so Sarmiento, Defensa, they aren't licensed teams. Argentinos were, but I don't think have currently been minted. Rosario as well, Independiente and Hurricane. I do have Rodrigo Rey from Independiente, but again, they're not a licensed team. We've got Alcas playing in the Libertadores. I'm hoping Lanzarote gets that place, but I don't know. He's not played yet. So then we've got the CONCACAF Champions League. So we've got Monterrey, who appear to have pretty good fixture. I think it's like qualifiers as well, so they'll be taking that seriously, you would imagine. Club America, again, pretty good team. And Vancouver at home, but Tigres, pretty good team there. You would expect Tigres will be giving them a good game there, so probably like 5-0 to Vancouver after I said that. But Nigeria and South Africa and Cote d'Ivoire against Congo. Yahya Fofana has been excellent. I think he'll go into bigger things out of this. I think Amiens looks as if they're probably going to go up, but he's put himself in the spotlight in this tournament as well, so certainly looks a better goalkeeper than Andre Onana, but that wouldn't be hard with it. Mainz against Junior Berlin. Mainz are actually home, so I was talking rubbish earlier. Primera A is covered in Colombia, but no licensed teams, and Pachuca against Leon in Liga MX. So there's a variety of games on, but I want to show you something kind of interesting here as well. So, All-Star Limited, so there's $910 in terms of the prize pool here, but it's $100 to first, and then there's various limited stars, okay? So the advantage of going in the All-Star is that you can win a Jude Bellingham, you can win a Haaland, you can win a Trubin, you can win a Vinicius Junior, etc. So that's pretty interesting, obviously, that you've got all of those options in terms of potentially getting stars, and people might or will probably want to prioritise that. Because Challenger is the most sort of dominant sort of division, looks so $500 there, but first place prize $235, and also there's 4 limited stars. Now the advantage there is you're only playing against the Challenger teams, and it's only the SPFL games who are on. Rangers are the second best fixture after Celtic, and they're not a licensed team, so they won't have as many cards playing. Still pretty good quality-wise. I mean, you've got Trubin, Diogo Costa, Palma, the new Benfica cards in here. There's quite a lot of them, so that's pretty good as well. So that's a real interesting one to take into account. Personally, I'll also be taking that into account when I'm picking my team. So if you look at, for example, Challenger Europe Super Rare, right? So we've got $640 first, Tier 2 Super Rare, Tier 2 Rare, and then we're down to Tier 3. And then we've got a minimal amount of places. But in the All-Star, the Ethereum level's lower, so there's less cash up top as well. Also, there's some pretty good cards in here. I mean, look, we've got a couple under 23 goalkeepers in here, so Super Rare goalkeeper's pretty valuable in general. Quite a lot of Celtic cards. Mauro Perkovic been excellent for Zagreb. Will Dennis, another under 23 goalkeeper. So yeah, I mean, I think that the All-Star Tier 2 is probably more varied, or is more varied. So you've got guys in there, Jonas Hoffman, Tell, who's pretty expensive but doesn't really play, Hradecki. So you've got some good players from out with the Challenger League. Lionel Messi, I thought I was Lionel Messi there. But there we go. So what I'm saying basically is when you're picking these teams, you've also got to consider what you're going to do with what division you want to enter. I'm going to do a variety of things here. I'm going to play both, obviously, because I do have the chance to play both. And I'm probably going to run like the Celtic strategy in Challenger and the mixed or the alternative strategy in other divisions. So anyways, so leave it to All-Star just now. That just means all players and everything here, and all scarcity too. But we'll pick the limited first because that's the most relevant to people, and then might just be devious, just not give you any of my selections for the super rare and above. People are probably trying to avoid me or play strategies to beat me or whatever these days, so could just be devious from that point of view, but I'm sure you'll get a few clues by what we're doing here. So I think first and foremost, if you've got higher XP players in Challenger, then yeah, I think in all honesty, you've got to play them in the Challenger division. There'll be most of the higher XP guys, or the stacks will be in Challenger, just given the prize pools and stuff. So here, options wise, is Joe Hart or Zach Heyman. Heyman will be playing the under 23s because I don't really have any other choice. So again, that makes my mind up. So at this stage, could do something different. Could go for a differential pick. I mean, certainly, if you look at up here, Owen Beck does have a relatively good expected score, 54. It's not a huge expected score, but there we go. Celtic centre back wise, I think that there's less questions around Scales, and Scales has been on the best forms. Again, that's kind of picks itself in terms of that position. Midfield, it could be interesting, but I think that Celtic, well, I did say it against Aberdeen, but I do think that with Hibs conceding 3 goals at home, just can't really see why Celtic wouldn't be looking to get a few goals here. Matt O'Reilly, highest expected scores. I do have a wee advantage here as well because I've got Palma, who obviously takes the sets and the like, and also I do have the Kuhn forward card as well. Now this guy put in a 70. A 70 coming on for the bench, whereas he's got quite a low average because obviously he's been in and out at Rapid Vienna or playing for a team that's more mid-table. So you need to get way down here. Bernardo's probably a good pick as well. So you look at the sort of general spreadsheet. So as I said, you don't. Where's Kuhn? Kuhn's in as a midfielder actually. That's because he's mostly got midfield cards, but expected score 68. So I'm going to run the forward cards. I picked up a few of these when Celtic were buying them. I just did think that realistically he's probably going to be a good option, and I'm going to go for a forward player as a captain. Palma's been knocking on the door, and he takes all the set pieces and everything, and Hibs look pretty disorganised, etc. So there we go. Now, I don't really have much for Champion America, etc. We'll have a look at the under 23s again. This is going to be quite Celtic dominant for me. I don't think there's really generally brilliant options around. As I said, if you've got Yahya Fofana, could easily be one who outperforms Zach Heyman and the like, so there's definitely that. I think if I was having a complete punt, maybe a Kilmarnock defender, somebody like Stuart Finlay or something like that could easily put in a high AA type game, that type of stuff. So I think what we'll do here is probably just go for the old, wrong button. Just see what the expected scores are. So Owen Beck and Novrocky are pretty similar, to be honest. The only thing I don't like about it is obviously Beck playing against St Mirren, because what that means is that if Beck gets a decisive, then Hemming has to have conceded. Kind of tempted just to run Owen Beck, must admit, but I'm gonna go with Novrocky. I just don't like that thing where people are playing against each other. It just seems to restrict the highest expected scores, but Novrocky coming off a poorer game, but I'm sure he'll be keen to get back on top of things again. Again, Matt O'Reilly. Did I pick up a Kuhn? I did. I'm sure I picked up. Yeah, I've got a Kuhn midfield card as well. So that's kind of interesting, but you use that for the caps. And then, big Quadri, as they're calling him now, after having one good game. But there we go. Sure, Celtic signed him for a reason. So Matt O'Reilly again. I have picked up a few Palma for this kind of specific reason here as well. And again, if I'm going to go with that strategy, I think you just have to go with the Kuhn forward card as well. It's very Celtic heavy, but it's a very Celtic heavy midweek as well. I think Matt O'Reilly's due a smasher of a score, but I think we're just going to have to go with the same strategies. Obviously, all eggs in one basket, but it kind of is midweek, right? I mean, it's just like it's no getting away from it in terms of that. So I don't really have many other options in terms of limited, but again, we'll pick the under 23s, and then we'll have a wee look at Challenger and All Star as well for the other teams. So again, no point in looking at a spreadsheet here. It's an easy decision in terms of hemming. So what one thing I could do here is I could run back in this one and just kind of split the strategy a wee bit. So I guess if Rocky had a disaster or whatever, then I'm going to be struggling. But in all honesty, I did buy the super rare with this type of game week in mind, and he's well capable of doing a high base type score. There's no two ways about it. Midfield wise, I think I'm going to put Matt O'Reilly in here, and it's a big card to use in here, but in a really nice position where I can use the unique and the super rare, etc. And also, there's a star rare in this division as well, right? So you've got potential of winning like a Jude Bellingham, etc. Which would be amazing. Luis Palma again, and again I'm going to sound like a complete broken record here. I could go Bernardo actually. That's kind of interesting. The problem with this Q no legs and one basket type thing is, well, I don't want to captain Zach Hemming, so I have to captain Palma. And with Cuno, obviously, if he doesn't start, but then he's come on and done a 70 against Aberdeen, so we'll go with that. And then, as I said, we won't pick the Celtic lineup for Challenger Plus because don't want to be giving the game away to everybody. What we'll do is we'll pick All Star Rare Plus. But as I said, bear in mind that it looks like there's more cash in All Star, but it's a different structure that Sorare have rolled out, which is kind of interesting, really. So there we go. So I think Joe Hart, I'm going to be using Challenger Plus. Not really any choice, so I'm not giving away too much there. Then the other one's going to be used in the sort of super rare or unique sphere. So here in terms of All Star Rare Plus, then it's going to have to be, I think, Rodrigo Ray, but. It's interesting, don't rule out these other fixtures just because, it's quite a Celtic dominant team week or all that type of stuff. I mean, in all honesty, there are some other good fixtures there as well, say Canales appearing here with a projected 70, etc. Luke Stuart Finlay, I mentioned him earlier, so instincts were kind of right on that. He could be quite a good, sort of cheap type defender. Calvin Bassey's not that expensive. He's been doing quite well for Nigeria as well. So, there's definitely more options on here than just Celtic teams. But I'm very sort of Celtic heavy, as I said. So, in terms of defence, do I have anybody who's out with Celtic here? I'm probably going to have to use a Celtic defender here. I'll probably be leaving my high XP scales for the stacks. Explained the strategy surrounding that earlier. Canales seems a pretty strong candidate for that position there. Again here I can run a sort of split strategy. Do just run Furuhashi? I think I'm probably going to use Kuhn in my best stacks. Furuhashi's just not been doing that well. Abada's come in, it's not really been playing that well. Just seen Iniacho there, so Lara Leicester playing, but they're not. And then what other super rares do we have here? It's all pretty much, just all Celtic, but that's the way my gallery is. So. And Joris Kayembe, no big fan of. Guess I could run on back in here. It does take a set of pieces, etc. So kind of interesting. I'd go Bernardo actually, because I don't have another super rare sort of goalkeeper, and at the end of the day, it's going to be one of those. I can use Kuhn in here actually, so that's interesting because, as I say, I think it's going to be more of a game for Celtic attack wise, and also I've now got the option of using Kuhn in another division if I want. So I'll probably have to play about with this wee bit. And Furuhashi, I think, for the first time, just think that Rodgers might actually start Ida, and people say Furuhashi being dropped, etc. Well, it's not just a case of that. You've got to consider how teams are now lining up against Celtic as well, and I dare say that Furuhashi could play beside Ida as well, and with the game's been quite quick. It's game Wednesday night. Celtic have a cup game at the weekend. You'd always expect, well, all teams basically, that you'll have a wee bit of rotation in terms of minutes, etc. As I said, I do think Celtic will score a few goals. The last twice I've said like 6-0 and Celtic will beat Aberdeen, and it's been 1-0 and one each. But in all these games, Celtic have still scored, and you would expect they'll score. So it's about who gets the decisives ultimately and stuff as well. So anyway, that's the overview. We went through Playsharper, we went through, focused a lot on it. Hopefully that gives you an insight into the midweek. Don't know how many people will be sort of playing it. It does exclude a lot of the user base, but then we're coming back to big weekend again. Also, Sorare promised that they would have the sort of general sort of roadmap or the update or whatever out early in February. So hopefully information's coming on that some point soon as well. Coming soon, as Nicholas always says, although he did say in the 29th of December or something, it would be in the coming days, and here we are, we're nearly in February. So there we go. So that's a preview of midweek. Hope that's helped people pick teams, etc. And if you're still made it to the end of the video and you haven't fallen asleep, congratulations, but we'll end in the customary fashion. If you're playing this midweek, good luck and go fuck.